So let's see what happened last session. Oh yeah, last session started off with a bang. As Ashkala, feeling the threat of the assassin, would decide to react, knocking the assassin to the ground and beginning to sprint away. Circe, who entered the train car, quickly rushed to her aid, but things kind of went a little crazy as Ashkala reached for a button in the center of the train car, and after she pressed it, the train car went into a lockdown. An anti-magic field was cast over the car, ending any of the immediate threats, and a blindness and deafness spell was cast all at once to anybody within the train car to immediately subdue them. The rest
basically a flashbang.
Pretty much a flashbang, yep. The rest of the party would attempt to come to their aid in some form or fashion, with Vivien attempting to head off the incoming Ebon Company guards. With the lockdown of the royal car, however, she was kind of ignored, almost pushed to the side so that they could continue on, get to the royal train car, and secure it to make sure everything was good. As they did, a couple additional guards continued to move into the car as well, at which point they began their discussions. Unfortunately, there were laws that were broken, and the party was all arrested, along with the ruffian that had entered the train car, that was in the train car with them, and the assassin in the car ahead. They pulled everybody out, took them to one of the holding cells, not too far away from the SLR station itself, and began to ask a battery of questions, trying to get as much information as they could, and then sending each of the individuals back to their cells after the discussions. That was until one of the guards had called for the Guard Captain Travaran to join them. He went downstairs and noticed at the door a woman with a retinue of guards standing at the doorway. It was at this time that they had brought Gjest out of her cell and began to bring her upstairs for questioning, to which after only a few moments had passed and the door would open, the woman stepping in, excusing the captain and the guard from the chambers, leaving just her and the changeling alone in the room. And that's where we start tonight's session. All right, so pretty much as soon as the conversation started to get a little bit interesting with the guard captain, the woman who you now know as the Queen Meriel Gladomain waved off the guards and sent them back out into the hallway. Inside of this kind of interrogation or interview room, as they call it, the Queen sits directly across from Gjest, sitting up very straight, her hands resting on the table, one hand resting on top of the other, and just looks over at Gjest for a moment and then says, "I don't believe we've been properly introduced. I'm Meriel Gladomain. I am here at the request of High Counselor Ashkala, who mentioned that your group here found yourselves in a bit of trouble."
That's the understatement of the year.
I can see. Can you tell me what happened in this train car?
Well, firstly, I would like to say that I've rode the train car previously, and there's always guards that, walk up and down it, patrolling the cars as normal. But this one, however, there wasn't any. And as things started to unfold, there were these two thugs that approached me, and they started getting rough, and one went to grab me, and there were some kind people that stepped in trying to kind of mediate the situation or halt his progress. One of the guards stepped back. He didn't really seem to want to have anything to do with it, but he didn't stop his friend either. And then the one that stayed there he started brandishing his weapon after repeatedly being asked to, stop this. It was senseless. But he didn't, and he went to attack. And when push came to shove, I stabbed him.
It seems very understandable. I could see how this would be a little intimidating to individuals quite a bit larger than you are standing over you and threatening you. That doesn't exactly seem like a good situation for anyone to be in.
Yes, and I think the others actually approached him because they were worried. I mean, the car was packed. There was other people there. There was a large man with a large weapon. So, I mean, if he swung back, he could have hit anyone, not just them, which he did. So, and I think it's all kind of, I believe in coincidences, but I don't think that this is that they're on one car and then the other one was left basically unguarded, and then someone was almost assassinated. And mind you, none of these guards have checked my belongings, taken my weapons. I, in fact, still have the dagger on me. And as she says this, she pulls it out and lays it down on the table with the blood still on it. So I'm kind of wondering if they never checked the man that was placed in the cell across from me, if they've never taken his weapons. He clearly is a terrible assassin, but still a threat.
She kind of nods and looks down at the dagger on the table, and again, just listening more than anything. And as you begin to mention that the guards obviously not taking the weapons and concern about the other individual downstairs that may still have his weapons, she kind of looks at you and says, I have spoke with Ashkala, and she's informed me of everything that has happened. They didn't take any of your belongings because she was able to convince them that you guys really were just defending yourselves. Fortunately, I've had a little bit of time to think about how to handle this on the way here. It's a little bit of a walk, as you can imagine. I was able to organize a few things to ensure that this outcome ends the way that we want it to. She kind of adjusts herself a little bit and kind of clears her throat and says, Captain Travaran will release the others, including the man across the hall. While his significant other may not have made the right choices on this day, we live in a very magical time where anyone can be saved. I have sent for the priests of Ezator to go to the station, the government center, and resurrect the fallen at once. Aline, the individual across the hall, will be happy to know that his beloved will return amongst the living, should his soul wish to do so. Out in the hallway, the rest of the party, you see as the guard captain and the guards begin to walk over towards the door where this kind of ruffian was. And immediately they open the door, and as they do, the guard captain walks in, beginning to address this individual first. You are barely able to overhear any of the conversation. Mostly the man kind of a bit of exclamation in his voice. He's happy of the results of this. Again, he really wasn't the one wanting to see this happen, but he didn't want to just completely let it go, and he made mistakes. He knows this was a mistake. Travaran turns and motions to the guard, who will escort him out. The two men making their way downstairs and immediately heading over towards the government center, and immediately to where the priests of Ezator will be to help revive him. As this occurs and they make their way downstairs, you notice that the guard captain has made his way back, heading back towards the cells. After he heads here, he starts to go and unlock the door to the north, where Freddy and Vivien are, and swings the cell open and mentions that the Queen has freed them, and immediately turns to the south and doing the same, motioning for the others to make their way out and make their way downstairs and wait for the other for the Queen to greet them once everything is all settled. As we go back into the investigation chamber, Meriel sits a bit quietly for a second, thinking, and says, I know that today was a very trying time for you. Believe me, I am not dismissive of this man or his significant other's actions by any means. They have shown the worst side of people, a lack of decency towards individuals who have brought them no harm. Today will be a reminder to them that every race and culture here in our city, despite our differences, must stand together and grow. That is their burden to bear. I know you understand the seriousness of the actions that you had as well. While they were in self-defense, they did go a little further than I'm sure you originally intended them to go.
Yes.
Good. Now, I know the company you keep, but know nothing of you. How did you end up with these individuals to begin with?
The ones that are, like leaving yourselves right now?
She's referring to the rest of the party.
Yeah. They just kind of tried to interrupt things to bring peace, and that was it. I don't really know who they are or why they did it.
I see. And where were you headed?
There's this council for some festival that I was chosen to go to until I got rudely interrupted.
You were chosen? Who chose you?
She'll actually pull out the scroll and open it up for her to see, since it has all the details.
Okay. And she'll take it and kind of look it over and get to the bottom of it and just kind of chuckles to herself a bit and says, yeah, Prince Kalinor, I understand now. She rolls it back up and slides it back across the table. She says, I assumed that I probably wouldn't be dealing with him directly, though his particular skill set would come in handy for the council. That's the entire reason that I sent him the request to begin with. But, well, we assume that either he ignored the request or rejected it when nobody was showing up for the council meeting. After all, he is a little shy of confrontation. You, on the other hand, are quite obviously not.
Apparently not.
She kind of laughs and says, "You're assertive, which is good. Perhaps we can turn that into a positive. While our city may be rather large, word gets around very fast here. I'm sure that word of what happened today will travel, and I wouldn't worry too much. Once the 22 are aware of the situation and your involvement with the negotiation committee, I think things will smooth over quite well. But we can use this to our advantage."
How so?
There are going to be some situations that require, well, obviously you're a changeling, yes?
Yes, I'm a changeling.
Yes, so that can come in handy, because seeing as you're able to look and be any way you need to be, you can easily fit in where the others might not.
This is true. Well, unless, they have some magical abilities, but they can. Who knows?
She kind of nods and says, "This will indeed come in handy for you. You will make their lives a little easier. I now have to speak with all of these individuals to understand what exactly went wrong here. Most of them are of somewhat noble birth here. I don't understand why they would assume that killing somebody in this city is okay." And she kind of shakes her head and begins to stand up, walking.
Well, I mean, it is a good thing that there are clerics that can bring people back. So, but yes, you're quite right.
She kind of looks over her shoulder and says, "Well, at least this time you won't remain here in prison for your actions. But this should be a pretty significant warning to you that these type of actions obviously will not stand in our city."
I understand. Thank you for coming down here and taking time to address the situation.
"Oh, we're not finished. You're coming with me."
Oh.
"Yes." And she walks to the door, giving it a knock. After a couple seconds, with Travaran unlocking the gates, he immediately comes back, also going and unlocking this door, which, as you guys know, he has the magical gauntlet that he places against it to be able to unlock it. The door opens and Meriel kind of steps out, back out into the hallway here. She looks back into the room and motions to Travaran and says, "Go ahead and release her under my watch." And Travaran kind of stops and looks at her and says, "Yes, my queen. Is there anything we should be doing with the assassin?" She shakes her head and says, "You can stay here for a bit. I will decide how to handle him later." After which, Travaran makes his way into the room here, walking over towards Gjest, unlocking the manacles that are around her hands in the front, and then escorting her back out into the hall where the others have been allowed to exit and make their way out as well. Meriel watches as everybody starts to exit out of the chambers, and seeing most of these individuals she's somewhat familiar with. Vivien being the one that she's the least familiar, and not seeing Celeste anywhere out here in the hall. She immediately starts turning and kind of motioning for everybody, beginning to escort you down the stairs. And as you make your way around the hall and head down the stairway, she gets to the bottom and walks down and looks to where the 2 cells on the ground are. She stops for a second, looking back as now finally everybody is grouped with her at the bottom of the stairs. Kind of looks back, shaking her head a little bit, almost like amused at the situation. She then looks away and steps over towards the cell where the assassin is. As she walks over, she kind of leans forward, looking down over the cell, and says, "As for you, well, attempted assassination of a city representative." She kind of shakes her head, kind of slowly, says, "If you refuse to talk, then we'll extract the information any way we must. Should you still choose to not speak in life, then we'll query your soul after your execution. Your little band of loyalty means nothing to me." She kind of stops for a second and says, "The choice is yours and yours alone. Assist us in tracking down who is responsible and continue to live your life, or die for nothing and we'll still get what we want." And she stops, turns back to the party, kind of a smile on her face, and she says, "Shall we?"
By all means.
So you guys are just outside of the government center station here. It'll take about 20 minutes or so to walk from where you are to get to Upper Toledo here. Let's see. As you step out onto the street, directly waiting outside of the gates here, you notice there's a pretty large retinue of guards, like 15 or 20 of them, flanking the entry to the holding cell building here. And they follow very closely behind both you and Meriel herself as you start to make your way towards Upper Toledo. Obviously, this incident has made all of you late for your meeting, but this seems to be kind of a minimal concern to Meriel. You begin to make your way forward, heading towards the bridge, crossing it and stepping onto the city's main road, the road called the Shimmering Lane, which extends from all the way south at Upper Toledo, all the way to the docks in the Sullivan Shore. The road gets its name from this kind of pearlescent glimmer of all the stone that make up the pathway itself, which seems to kind of glitter under the sun and moon. As you begin to make your way southwest and uphill, it's a very long incline made of some ramps and some stairs, depending on how high you get into it and how new some of the build of this road is. You make your way up towards Upper Toledo. The path that you walk on is flanked by several massive skyscrapers. The outer walls of Upper Toledo is the same as it has pretty much been since the city was originally built. A mix of a sandstone and rock from the Pictorial Peaks, the mountains to the south. There's, again, the oldest remaining pieces of the city, built when the city was first established over 30 years prior. The long path enters through the front gate of Upper Toledo, opening up to a somewhat familiar sight. Backdropped by the massive 200-foot-tall statue-like pillars carved into the mountain's face are the 7 guardians which watch over the ward as they always have, bracing the rock face of the mountain above, from floor all the way to the top. A few buildings have been relocated here. The Temple of Swords, the First Forge, and the Gladomain High Hall have all made residence here now, most of which were relocated when they tore down the other parts of the city and began reconstructing it into the city that it is now. One of the lone exceptions of the buildings that has not changed is the Holy Shrine of Tiras. The shrine, dedicated to the memory of the original founder of the Gladomain, and now member of the Undying Court, served as a place of remembrance for the people here. And for some, was the site of the very first sighting of Kai Gladomain's projection as Tiras the Ascended. As you enter into the city, we'll go ahead and give you the map for it. There we go. That's better. All right. As you enter in, making your way, and I gotta scroll mine out here, making your way here through the security checkpoint into the ward proper. On either side, as soon as you make your way out here, you pass by 2 flanking obelisks, the tall, like the Washington monuments at the entryway here. As you proceed through and head a little further down the 20-foot wide shimmering lane, you pass by the emissaries, or embassies of both Faerun and Eberron, which is located here. These buildings are somewhat unique, as the bottom floor of it is completely open, nothing but large stone pillars holding it in place, and the ceiling of it 15 foot high. So basically, the building itself is built upon a platform for both sides, both of these buildings. Directly over top of you, as you're kind of walking through here, while the 2 buildings are separate, they're connected by these really large, like cloth awnings, that connect each one of the buildings, made from the traditional decor and materials native to the different races and cultures that the 2 embassies represent. As you begin to make your way a little further into the city, you get a little closer towards the Holy Shrine and begin to head south and make your way over here and head towards the Gladomain High Hall. As you get down here, some of you, most of you would be somewhat familiar with it, as this is the place where the Gladomain High Council holds any of its meetings, or this is where you could find them when they're not in session with the representatives of the city. The building itself is heptagon shaped. It stands about 40 foot tall and is made of mostly sandstone and similar rock that they use for the outer wall of Upper Toledo here. It was originally formed in the lower portion of the city, but then was brought up to Upper Toledo a few months prior to the city's expansion. In the northwestern edge of the building, there are 2 20-foot tall doors, very large stone doors, that allow entry into this chamber. And it is just a chamber, a very large chamber. In the back of it, a large stone podium with 5 very ornate-looking stone chairs, all of which sit empty, for the members of the Gladomain High Council, including Counselor Ashkala, who can be seen mingling with the people who have come to discuss various issues throughout the city. A much different approach to the way things were handled previously here, where this allows like an open forum. Before, you had to have a request, you had to know the people to get in, you had to have some tie to the city to allow it. Now they allow any of the citizens in to come in and express their concerns and speak with them. Within this chamber, as I mentioned, a few of the citizens, along with a handful of the representatives, all kind of gather around, discussing various orders of business as you begin to approach. From labor disputes to missing shipments, and of course the upcoming festivities, all of these types of discussions are heard. As you make your way into the chambers, Meriel immediately thanks you for following and accompanying her, and then makes her way up towards the podium. Doesn't say anything. She doesn't, try to gesture for you to accompany her. She just makes her way to the podium, not really paying any mind or attention to anyone, including you, once you got inside of the chambers. She goes to the front and sits down in the left center chair. So as you're kind of looking over, there's one chair that's dead center, and then 2 chairs flanking on each side. She sits left center of that. And she kind of looks over this chambers, which again is filled with some of the representatives of the 22, a handful of citizens, and now you, the Festival Negotiation Committee. As you take a look around, Ashkala quickly excuses herself from the conversation she was making and comes over to you. A visible look of concern going away as she sees all of you are here. And says, "Oh, good. I'm so glad that you made it. I asked Meriel to alleviate some of the issues back there with Evan Company. I tried. I guess I don't have the power that I would need to override something like that." She stops for a second and says, when I came back here, there were already people here organizing, and I couldn't just leave them alone. So I had to stay and take care of our guests. Are you guys okay? Do you need anything?
Actually, Ashkala, is there a place I could go to clean up? I'm kind of a little bloody, and I'd like to change my clothes.
She looks at you and says, "Oh, yeah, well, you certainly do look like you could use a quick change, or at least make yourself a little more presentable here. But it's okay. If you need to, there's a building directly behind us that you could go to. It's one of our guest halls that usually we just allow certain visitors to stay in whenever they're here, if you want to go there."
Thank you. I'll be back soon. And I'm gonna just leave to go.
As you start walking out, you watch as Ashkala waves and motions for a guard. And a guard walks up to you and kind of stops, and she's like, "Accompany her to the guest quarters. Allow her to get cleaned up, and escort her back, please."
I say thank you, and I go leave to change into my spare clothes.
Okay.
My common clothes that is in my backpack.
And
You can't just let a tiefling go somewhere this fancy by themselves. Who knows what they'll do?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tiefling, so you never know.
You racist.
What? No.
Says the guy that's fighting the half drow. Quarter drow.
So yeah, they escort you over to this chamber here, which, as I mentioned, is kind of like a common room for visitors. They allow them to stay here while they're visiting the city, taking care of any business they got to take care of, things of that nature. They escort you back and allow you to get cleaned up, do whatever you need to do. The rest of you still in the temple, what would you like to do?
Does anybody else look like disheveled and messed up and bloody?
Of the party?
Yes. I mean, I guess the guards, but I have less interest in them.
Wasn't
Oh yeah,
Was
didn't
it Calypso
Calypso get
that-
injured? Wasn't Calypso injured?
I don't know. Calypso, were you injured? Do you need to excuse yourself and go get cleaned up or anything?
You're muted if you don't know.
Turns out he was trying to talk the whole time.
or his AFK?
Maybe AFK. I'm going to assume yes.
Yes. So anybody who's still messed up, Circe walks over to them and then snaps her fingers, and there's like a slight sensation like you just got sprayed with Febreze as she uses prestidigitation and cleans you up.
The smell of Febreze.
Yeah, but it's like it's
Ocean
you
mist.
know, yeah, it's not ocean mist. It's siphon scented, so you kind of
God.
smell like a gibbering mouther. The
That's
smell is
disturbing.
I can't explain to you what that is because there's no words for it. And you might have a ringing sensation in your ear for a little while you comprehend the smell, but it'll go away in like half
While
your
you-
lifetime.
while
Yeah,
you
I'm not
comprehend
sure
the
about
smell.
that, maybe.
I like that you said comprehend the smell. That's
You
Man.
can. I can't comprehend it. You can't comprehend it. Something can comprehend it. Something might show up and eat your toenails while you're asleep because it'll be drawn to the smell. I can't say that that's not going to happen. But you don't. But you look clean, so there you go.
all right. So you look presentable. You might not smell the best, but each of you now look presentable.
Incomprehensible. You smell incomprehensible. That could mean anything.
Could.
It's true.
Oh hey, Ren's back.
Ren's
Did you
back.
get injured?
What?
Did you get
did
injured?
I take any damage? Hold on.
I think
I
you did.
think it was
She-
largely negligible, though.
Yeah, we were asking because they were the guards were escorting Vivien to the guest hall so that she could get cleaned up and things like that, and we were asking if you needed to accompany her.
Oh, I was not counting leveling up. I was at 9 out of 12 HP,
Mhm.
so I think
Yep.
I'm okay if we just get time to rest.
Okay. Well, they were just doing because you're in a temple, and they were
Oh,
just
I'll-
trying to
I'll
make
take
yourselves
catch up with
presentable.
you.
Yeah. Not to heal up or anything, but just to be presentable within the temple, I guess.
Oh,
I Febrezed you.
Yeah.
yeah. I largely imagine Calypso probably cares a lot less about that.
Yeah.
But
You missed the whole thing. It's fine. You smell
It's okay.
incomprehensible. Things are gonna eat your toenails. Don't worry about it.
I caught most of it. It was just coming in, home. So sorry.
Yeah, no worries. So yeah, the party's standing here. Basically, as you're kind of gathered around Ashkala's, begins to describe the scenario here. Basically, what's going on is there are different representatives throughout the city who are having trouble accomplishing the goals that they wish to accomplish for the upcoming festival. The issues that they're running into vary from, again, wage issues to even a bit of archaeology. They're wanting to retrieve artifacts and things of that nature. Various discussions going on, and Ashkala kind of gives you a quick overview and mentions the individuals that are here in attendance. She kind of points around and looks over to roughly 40-year-old female human. It's kind of in the middle of everything over here. She mentions that this individual is named Renan Norel, and I'll copy that for you guys. She is...
Actually, Forge, I do have a question.
Yep.
Are we supposed to be seeing a closer up map? Because all I'm seeing is Upper Toledo.
Nope. You're only
Okay,
supposed
that's
to
map
see
we're
Upper
on.
Toledo.
Just
Yep.
want to make sure.
Yep. She mentions Representative Renan Norel, which is here on behalf of the dragon-marked houses of Lorandar and Orion. The two are basically the transportation hub of this city. They take care of everything coming in and out by airship, by train, and by ship. She begins to also point out another member of Dragon Marked House, Taldor de Medini, the pretty high up ranking member within the House Medini, or Madani, I guess it would be pronounced. One of basically the houses that take care of defense. Some guards, militia, things of that nature. If you ever needed those kind of individuals, this is the individual you would talk to. She points over to the side, somebody who, Freddy, even though you've seen him before, he looks very much different now. As you do, being a bit older now. Cassius Stormholm, the king's eldest son, over in the back representing the king's ward. And then kind of off in the middle, an androgynous drow by the name of Tereth Krabot, who's having a conversation with quite a few individuals, including Gilly Gladomain, who you guys have yet to meet. As you're standing in this chamber, Ashkala begins to, again, as she's pointing these individuals out, she also mentions that there are some other representatives here. Kind of looking around and trying to point them out. She's having trouble finding them. But she suggests that you guys mingle with some of the guests, attempt to get some information, see how you can help them, and then if you have any questions, to either come and see her or speak with Meriel, and either one of them would be happy to help.
Gjest is just looking at everyone.
Vivien, if she's back yet, is just standing like against a wall, super awkward. She doesn't know what to do. She's never been around a political situation ever. And yeah. And she's also not nicely dressed anymore.
Just will go over and stand beside her.
I'm gonna be a wallflower too, because it seems like the cool thing to do right now.
Are there any refreshments being passed around?
As you take a look around the chamber, you do see to the southwest corner, kind of over in this area, there are a few tables that have some water on one side, wine on the other side, and in the center, a few cheese plates and things of that nature.
Calypso's going to nudge her sister, motion to the cheese plate, and head over.
Seriously nods and waves.
Well, at least they brought food. We've been sitting in those cells for way too long. And she's just going to handful of cheese, get some wine.
Okay.
Is there anyone else that Freddy would recognize?
Outside of the Gladomain, not... Well, maybe. Give me a perception check. Okay. As you're looking around the room, your eyes kind of scan. You do see two other individuals who you've met before, one of which you're pretty familiar with, the other you're not. In the back, kind of huddled with three other people, one of which looks to be a commoner by the way they're dressed. In the back, you see an individual named Shannara. She was the former Inquisitor of the ESS, and now the representative for the Kalido Heights East. With her, another representative who you have met briefly, mostly during the trip to Obix K when you guys had the treaty signing. The representative Mylela Balroris, which the Alliance dealt with from the city of Nareen. She represents the Nareen's Folly ward here in the city.
I feel like Freddy would be getting like some flashbacks of that old meeting and the treaty signing and back then. Just how awkward it seems to be.
Yeah, I could see that, especially seeing those two individuals. You had a face-to-face with Mylela while you guys were at the city when everybody was gathering together. And you briefly saw Inquisitor Shannara dealing with Cedric as well. So you have a familiarity with them. Maybe not super knowing of who they really are, but you remember them.
I'm gonna lean over to Cersei really quick. It's Cersei, right?
She nods.
Do you know what we're supposed to be doing? Because you were actually invited to this.
There's a very long, awkward silence. She looks very panicked. And then she quickly shakes her head no. And then she's like fumbling around for her invitation to read it over.
I'll just continue to stand there.
You get the gist from what Ashkala had mentioned to you that you need to see how you can help the representatives to make sure the festival happens as they intend it to. That's what all of you were getting out of that conversation with Ashkala.
What I notice, is there anyone paying any particular attention to Freddy himself or any of the rest of the group?
Not really. Everybody seems pretty content with their conversations. You do notice a few of them seem a little standoffish, I guess, for lack of better words. Kind of hanging out in the back or in their own little groups. But for the most part, they don't seem to really pay any mind to you guys.
I see Cersei pantomime to me what we need to do, and I'm going to look around. Are any of the representatives alone?
You do see Cassius Stormholm does appear to be by himself right now. He, just like you guys, seems a little awkward. Kind of just standing around.
Do I know Cassius?
You know Cassius, yes.
Like how well?
You guys have kind of grew up together a little bit. It's tough with the Stormholm because it took a while before they finally gave up on Stormholm Keep and moved to Kalido. So while you were hanging out with Cersei and Calypso, he was a little bit older and was kind of forced into this role of power that he didn't want to be in. You were familiar with each other, especially being the two royal families and having that interaction between each other, but you're not super familiar with the type of person he is or anything like that.
So it's like we knew each other. You
kind of knew each other.
Really acquaintances more than friends.
Exactly. You knew each other in passing and by name, but anything really outside of that, no.
It's like those cousins twice or three times removed you see at the family reunions.
Exactly. Same kind of situation there.
Well, seeing that he's alone, I'm gonna go and introduce myself.
Okay. You kind of make your way over. He seems very modestly dressed for his name, being one of the Stormholm family. As you walk up again, he looks kind of shy-ish. Kind of looks up at you. Like I said, about 40 years old or so. Looks up, and as you approach, he stops for a second and kind of does the whole, okay, you got this, and then extends his hand out and says, "Hi, my name's Cassius. Who are you?"
I'm Vivien. My mom's Avalana. You might have met her back when she was here so many years ago.
Avalana Gilmer?
Yeah.
Really? Oh, it's a pleasure to meet you. I didn't know that Avalana had any children.
Yeah, I was kind of her little secret.
Oh, I see. Are you here for the festivities?
No. Actually, she didn't know that there were festivities. I was here to get to know my family.
Oh.
But I guess I'm going to be helping with the festivities now.
He kind of looks a little confused. Which family are you here for? I'm sorry. He's unaware.
Oh, the Gladomains?
As you say that, he kind of stops and thinks, and you're part of the Gladomain. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Well, if you're here, then I guess it would be good that you actually came to talk to me, because I need help, and I have a feeling you would be interested in it.
Oh, what do you need help with?
Kind of smiles and says, I'm trying to organize things for the festival, and one of the things that House Stormholm has done for the past several years is to gather some of the greatest bards of the realm and recount stories and sing songs and even give theater-like performances for the people based on the story of the heroes of the Isles. He kind of stops for a second and he says, the problem is every year they keep getting better and better, but this is an important year, and I really need to find good performers for this.
Why is it an important year?
He looks and thinks for a second and says, well, it's because this year's the Sundering.
What's that? Either out of game if I should know it, or in game?
You wouldn't know it because you wouldn't be familiar with the realm. He looks at you and says, oh, right. The Sundering is when both Mabar and Irion come into coterminous at the same time. This happened 25 years ago. It was a much different time then.
What happened 25 years ago?
Well, how close is Frederick, and how much would I be able to eavesdrop in this conversation?
What's your passive perception?
15.
Yeah, you could pick up on this. You hear him kind of mentioning it, and he looks a little, again, kind of awkwardly towards Vivien's like, your mom never told you?
When I see him getting this awkward look, I'm gonna ease my way into the conversation, and just by saying, the last time this happened was the event for which your mom and her companions are famous for.
He kind of stops.
The war?
When they defeated Tyrus the Ascended.
I'm just gonna nod like I understand.
He kind of stops and looks up at you and says, the face is familiar, but I don't think I recall you. What is your name?
Frederick von Kowalski. And then we'll reach out to shake his hand.
Frederick.
How old was the Stormholm, young Stormholm, when Frederick would have been here?
15.
So just a little bit older than Freddie then.
Yep.
Seeing the confusion on his face, will speak up and say, I was Belvedere Squire back during the events.
He thinks.
I haven't been here in a while.
He thinks, and a visible smile kind of crosses his face. And he's like, oh, that's it. That's exactly where I knew you from. He's like, it's so great to put a name to a face. I kept looking and I couldn't remember who you were, but I knew I've seen you before. And he stops and says, "But yes, your friend here is right. The last time this happened, it was the rise of Tyrus the Ascended. Every year since the fall of Tyrus the Ascended, we have had a celebration for the heroes that have saved our realm. And then every year, when the Sundering occurs, we have a day of somberness, quiet. It indicates the end of the war, of the end of all of the things that had taken place between Tyrus and the rest of us." And he stops and says, "But then afterwards, the final day is a huge celebration. It's the day of remembrance for us." And he stops and kind of looks between the two of you and says, "I need someone to help me because I'm not a very good judge of music or performances or anything like that, but it's become an honored tradition for our people. I would like you to go and visit a few inns that I have gathered the names of and see if you can find some performers who can tell a very truthful retelling of our story of the city and of the heroes of the Isles."
Well, I'm sure I could find a good bard, but I doubt they'll be as good as my mom.
And he nods and says, "Well, that's very true. Your mom was pretty great at what she did."
But I'd love to help.
Awesome. Well, I have the name of 6 bars, or 6 inns, that I would like you to check out. I don't know where they're located, unfortunately. I just know the names. I've had some of the people that work with me tell me that these are some of the best inns in the city, and if you're going to find a bard, this is where you send them. He said, "But there's a catch. You need to understand the accuracy of their stories, and it's pretty obvious that some of you aren't really familiar with what happened here. So you'll probably want to stop at the Hall of Remembrance and visit the museum that we have there. But before you could do that, here's the list of locations," and he starts to name them. I hope you're ready.
Oh, 1 second. Let me.
I've got my notepad open.
I'm also ready.
The 6 inns that he mentions are the Stubborn Mule in Shanty Square, Broken Root Tavern in the Oasis.
Broken what?
Root, R-O-O-T, Root. Bright Candle Inn in the Dark. The Blushing Baker in the Trade Ward. The Drunk Octopus in the Selavash Ward. And the Obnoxious Owl in Moon's Call.
Obnoxious Owl?
Obnoxious Owl.
Okay, can you go over the list one more time?
Uh,
I got Stubborn Mule, Broken Root. I didn't get the area of that one. I got Bright Candle in the Park. I missed the one in the Trade. I got Drunk Octo. I missed the location.
Circe's is correct.
Oh, well, excellent. That'll work.
Just so you can update your notes on that.
I mean, to be fair, how did you expect to spell Selavash?
Yep.
Not exactly a normal word.
So he mentions this and then says, again, I don't know the location other than what ward they remain in, but if you visit the Kalido registry, I'm sure they can help you. And he kind of mentions that it's not too far away, almost southeast of where you're at, right over here in Building 5.
And where's the Hall of Remembrance in relation to us?
The Hall of Remembrance is Building 6 to the north.
Excellent.
And
You said the registry was 5?
correct. And with that, you guys can also get this. Show. There's your quest for this. All right. And with that, he kind of looks over all of you and says, well, the two of you that are standing around, and immediately begins to thank you for offering to help him, and says, if you ever need anything, feel free to stop by King's Ward. I will be sure to offer you proper accommodations when you're in our within our ward. I know we don't have a lot since we left Stormholm Keep, but we do keep a very nice and clean part of the city, so you're always welcome there if you would like.
Thank you. Same to you if you ever find yourself in Eltan's vision.
And he nods and again thanks you, and as you start to turn away, he goes back to that kind of awkward, like, standing around, like, okay, who do I talk to now? Like, you could tell he's doing this because he has to, not because he wants to.
God, it's like you're channeling me from 14 years ago. Or from, like, 14 minutes ago, either one.
It's been the same.
Not much has changed.
Who else was there?
You have Renan Norel, Taldor de Madani, which I'll link here because I didn't do this one before, and Kareth Kraybot. Come on, paste. There we go.
Kraybot was the Drow
Correct.
representative.
And with him, or them, you see Gilly Gladomain's also there. Which is...
Is that the one we were supposed to meet? I don't remember.
This person. That is the individual that Circe and Calypso got the letter from. And then there's also Meriel sitting in the back on the podium, just sitting there.
Does she look like she's doing anything in particular, or just sitting and chilling?
Just watching all of the people. She doesn't appear to be preoccupied with anything. She's just watching as everything's taking place.
Okay.
I'll turn to Vivien and ask if would you like to go say hello to another member of your family?
Sure.
Right, well, follow me then, and I'll approach Meriel.
Okay. She seems.
At this point, before you go,
Yep.
Circe is kind of just following them at this point.
Just kind of walking around now.
Yeah, she's just kind of walking in one of theirs, kind of just following in step behind one of them.
Gotcha.
Calypso will be like right beside her though and offer over a bit of the cheese. Just like, so where are we going?
And she just points at them as like a piece of cheese just disappears up her scarf that's covering her face. There's some nibbling.
I'm gonna bow when we approach Meriel because I heard that she was the queen, and I don't know how to act around royalty.
Okay. As you do,
Another 15 degrees.
as you bow in front of Meriel, she chuckles a little bit and says, "No, that's not necessary."
Okay.
And she looks over at Freddy and says, "It has been such a long time since I have seen you. You've grown up quite well, actually."
Meriel wants Freddy.
Well, he's already got a harem to choose from.
Really doesn't need more.
That's
That's what happens when you're a Jon Snow lookalike.
Oh.
True.
You know nothing, Freddy.
What was you said, Forge the discount Jon Snow?
Yeah. Yep. Discount Jon Snow.
So when do we get to take turns stabbing him?
I mean,
Wow.
I mean that's. I mean, no. Was that not? Oh, all right. Never mind.
I mean, it happened.
Riz, I think that joke killed me.
Killed him too.
Yeah.
him too.
Everybody likes to laugh here.
Ha.
Got my eyes on you, Freddy. Of the wall.
So Meriel kind of looks up and says, "So is there anything I can help you with?"
I just wanted to say, first, thank you for helping us out back at the jail. That was rather a very awkward and unfortunate situation how it went down.
She kind of nods and waves her hand, kind of dismissing it like it's not a big deal, and says, "Honestly, I'm just happy that everybody is okay now. Yes, I had to send some individuals over to take care of the fallen, but that's okay. It's settled. Everybody goes home, so that's a positive, right?"
Of course.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Circe shrugs.
I actually have a message for you from my mom. She wanted to say hello, and that she is sorry that she hasn't spoken to you in such a long time.
She stops for a second, and this kind of fun-loving and kind of laid-back version of her gets a little more rigid, and she looks at you and says, "It's okay. It's fine that your mother hasn't been here. I understand her not wanting to come back, especially after everything she had been through while she was here."
As seeing her change, I get really awkward. And, am I allowed to just roam the city, or do I have to have someone escort me everywhere, or I don't know how this really works.
She looks at you and says, "No, you're free to roam the city. You will have some obligations, of course, if you wanted to stay here. You wanted to learn more about your family here, and probably want to learn a little something of your mother as well. So I would obviously advise you to stay pretty close to all of these people who will be good company for you."
Yeah, I just really wanted to see Belvedere, and won't be able to see him if I'm, stuck here all the time.
She nods and says, "There will be plenty of time. You just got here today, remember? You'll have plenty of time to be able to sit down with him, I can assure you."
Oh, I don't do that. I don't do that in game, but
Now, you don't think that's a good move in front of the queen? Are you sure?
yeah. Yeah, you're right. Thank you.
And she kind of nods and looks over the rest of the party, peers back over towards Circe and Calypso. Just kind of looks back at them and smiles a bit, seeing Circe kind of curled up in her little blanket. And then looks around, and is Celeste over here with them as well?
No. If anything, she's trying to actively avoid Meriel.
Mm. Yeah, kind of looks around and says, "Looks like we're missing one. But you're still here, so what have you found out so far? I'm sure there's plenty of work and things that might need to be done for the festival. Have you found out anything yet? Have you spoken to any of the representatives?"
I'm gonna help, I didn't get his name.
Cassius.
Cassius Stormholm.
But Vivien didn't get his name.
Yeah, she did.
Oh, I did?
He introduced himself.
Oh, yeah.
He introduced himself at the very beginning.
I'm going to be helping Cassius find some bards. So, that's what I'll be doing.
She smiles and says, "Well, that seems right up your alley now, doesn't it?"
Does everyone just assume I'm a bard?
No, but your mom is a
But your-
legendary, famous bard.
Exactly. Your mom is a legendary bard, of which she assumes that your mother has told you plenty of stories as you were growing up. She can assume wrong, of course, but she does assume.
Okay. I'm just feeling like everyone's assuming I'm a bard at this moment.
Play us some music.
Bard, charisma-based caster. That's just a bard, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Anyone that uses charisma is a bard, confirmed.
Mm-hmm.
Forget
That includes Cersei
sorcerers.
and Calypso.
Yeah, wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Not like sorcerers or warlocks or even paladins exist. Nope.
Nope.
I don't exist.
Belvedere was a bard. This is
We all-
confirmed.
Everybody just fades away.
Don't feel
Everyone's
so
a bard.
well, Mr. Belvedere.
Pandora, she was a bard.
She was the most charismatic.
Mm-hmm.
She did get a huge following.
Praise be to Kaifan.
Praise him.
So she kind of looks over the party, who's standing kind of awkwardly in front of her.
I'm
Freddie will speak up and say, I'll help out where I can as well. I mean, I do have, I guess, well, so much of an understatement as it might be, some experience in regards to how things went, so... Because I haven't been around the city much myself, so it'll be good to see how things have changed since I was last here.
So, remind me, since it's been a while, we got invited because we were the kids, right? Not because we were representing Typhon.
Correct.
I mean, okay. Is there anybody from the temple here?
Not here, no. While you guys were leaving the temple and making your way over to the SLR, there were a few within the temple, a few of the acolytes and other members of the clergy within the church to Kyphon, or the temple to Kyphon. But as you came back out, you notice the numbers aren't super. You don't have super big numbers within Kalido.
So nobody really representing on the council.
Correct.
So Calypso will probably just take a long sip of the wine and just be like, don't have anybody from the temple here, I see.
She kind of
Seriously looks at her sister awkwardly and points to her and then points to herself.
That's not what we're here for.
Reaches up and bonks her on the head with her staff.
I imagine your guys' presence be sort of dual purpose, if anything.
Is it? And she'll pop a piece of cheese in her mouth.
Because I'm here now to not only represent for the Flaming Fist, but as well as the Ultimate Division.
Meriel kind of looks over at Freddy and says, "Oh yes, the Flaming Fist. Have you spoken with Representative De Medina yet? He's certain to be able to assist you in offering more numbers or more members to aid the security force that you guys were promising to all of us."
Actually, I have not had the opportunity yet. After only having just received I talked to Belvedere this morning, and almost immediately just making my way here for the gathering.
She kind of nods and says, "Yeah, it's because of, to be honest, because of the Sundering being this year, it's very important to us that everybody is well protected, and we know, unfortunately, a security detail such as this will require far more numbers than what the Flaming Fist might be able to accomplish right now. But Representative Talador will certainly be able to offer anything that you would need, obviously at a price, of course."
Of course. And out of character, how much does Freddy know about the representative, and has he actually met him before?
He has not, because Freddy hasn't really spent a lot of time here. He's not really gotten a good feel for how the city is ran. Out of character, this guy is pretty much like militia minded. He will make sure you get whatever you need. It will obviously cost a considerable amount of money, which they will offer you services for, but you'll have to figure out how that's going to be paid.
Indeed. So Freddy will also speak and say, "Forgive me, but where would be the best place to contact the representative at?"
Are you talking about Representative Taldor?
Yes, like what was, I forget which actually, I don't know if I can't remember now if he said specifically where they're from.
He's here. I didn't say specifically where he was from, but he is here.
Oh, he is. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Look, so I'll be like, look, Freddy will take a look around to see if he can spot him at all, based at least on what he's been told.
Yeah, as you kind of look around, you see older individual, nearing 70 years old, very big, burly kind of guy, bald head. He's very gruff looking, like a no-nonsense kind of individual, standing around with a handful of what appear to be members of militia or common folk that have joined him here. Originally, when you guys first walked in, he was actually speaking with Ashkala, who separated and came over to talk to you guys when you walked in.
Yes. Freddy will turn back to Meriel and say, well, it's good to see you. Again, thanks for the help earlier. Well, if you excuse me, I believe I should... Well, it's as good a time as any to speak to the representative. And
she'll kind of nod. She'll nod and kind of wave goodbye to you, and a kind of just like a nonchalant wave in front of her, and kind of looks to the others that are still standing there and says, "Now, is there anything else I can do to help you?"
I've left already to return to my spot on the wall.
I'm gonna give this a random roll because I think it'd be fun. Circe looks back to where Celeste is, and then looks up at Meriel, and then snaps her fingers, and then a purple line of sparks leads from Meriel over to Celeste, and then
Celeste was not just standing there.
Oh,
I was planning on having her do stuff while you guys were doing this.
Well, she's trying to stay out of sight, basically.
Fine.
Look, I get what you're going for, but Celeste,
I just need a perception check.
You know, go for it.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd see her wandering around.
Yep, I do the line of sparks.
You know, I can't even argue for a passive stealth check, because that is by passive stealth.
Well, then I beat it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you did.
Yep.
So I can't argue for it.
You're gonna have to talk to your family. Anyway, I'm social. And then now that I force someone else to be social, I immediately run over to Wallflower with Vivien and Gjest again.
Okay.
After taking half of the rest of Calypso's cheese.
Sled fan check.
No, she just does it.
She just reaches up and takes it anyways.
And then at this point, she's probably feeling tired, so she's kind of like
social,
half on
right?
the ground, so she's kind of like shuffling around like an inchworm. Because that's an adorable mental image, and I won't be convinced otherwise.
All right. Let's see. Gjest, you've been awful quiet this whole time.
Yes.
What are you doing?
She's, once they've moved to, do their conversation, she's just gonna mingle in with the crowd, see if anybody needs something. She doesn't really know what she's doing.
Okay. Give me a D4 roll. Okay. As you're wandering around, attempting to just kind of mingle with everybody here, you end up bumping into this very tall drow individual who is speaking with Gilly Gladomain. They turn and look at you as you bump into them, because you're really just having conversations and then just like finding ways to like excuse yourself and get out of the conversation and go somewhere else.
Yes.
And as you're doing so, you're like looking and trying to end a conversation as you're walking away, and kind of nudge into this individual who kind of stops and turns and looks at you, almost like I said, they're fairly tall. They're almost like looking down their nose at you as you bump into them.
Oh, pardon me. I didn't see you there.
It's hard to miss me.
Well, if only I had eyes in the back of my head.
Or looking in the right direction.
Again, my apologies.
Mm-hmm.
Do you require anything?
Do I require anything? Well, maybe. Can you bring me an ancient artifact that I've been looking to bring to the city?
I can try.
By yourself?
You want me to do it by myself? Or
No, I'm asking, are you doing it by yourself?
You know what? I know some people that may be able to help.
I know some people too, and they've had some very unfortunate adventuring mishaps. So do you really believe that you can do this yourself?
Well, I'm just crazy enough that I'll find out.
Yes. Where are your others, then?
She's gonna turn to look around and see if she can spot the party. And then point them out.
Give me a perception check at disadvantage. Because you're super fucking nervous and you're like, oh my god, where the hell are they?
What do they even look like? They were all half elves.
I don't even know who they are!
God damn it,
There's
that would
shiny hair.
I've spent 2 hours with them. I don't know them.
3 of their names start with C's.
I don't even think. I think she only got Calypso's name and I think Vivien.
And Vivien's, yeah.
Yeah.
That one's getting drunk. That one's a waffle out.
Like the burrito over there, the blanket. Like there's the tall dude. Right? He's definitely with me.
You immediately start pointing them out, and the drow kind of looks at you. They seem...
You don't know any of these people, do you?
They seem, like, not impressed.
I can't blame him.
Hey, we're the best adventurers.
That one has sparks following them around. I don't understand that. And that one's crawling around on the ground.
They stop and take a look over at Gilly and say, can you speak for any of these individuals that this person is talking about? And Gilly kind of looks, and she's like super nervous, like looking around and is like, those two, and points to Calypso and Circe of which has just enough of her head sticking out from the blanket that you can see her like holding onto a piece of cheese and biting into it at the moment that she's pointing them out.
There's some really great people.
Yes, tell them to come here then. They're your friends. Go get them and bring them here.
Oh, okay, sir.
Could you do me a favor? Could you leave their names with me before you go?
She's gonna, quickly back away and go try to wrangle them up.
Just leaves. Just the area.
Nope, I'm out of here. Sorry.
I have to go to the bathroom. Sound of the window getting broken open.
Yes.
You could have just lockpicked it. You can do that.
It doesn't work for an audible gag.
So you walk over and start to gather everybody. What do you say to them to try to convince them to come over?
You know, guys, there's a man that mentions that he needs a
You don't know that
something
it's a man.
artifact. Okay, well, this person, they would like for us to find an artifact for them. And since you guys were so helpful before, I thought maybe you would be willing to help me again this time. What do you say, hey?
Imagine this is Freddy getting short stacked before he reaches the Taldor.
Mm-hmm.
Might as well. I've nothing better to do.
I mean, I'm interested, but like, will he tell you anything else about this artifact, or what they want to do with it?
Well, those are all very good questions that I did not ask, but I'm sure you would have the opportunity to do so when we go over there to speak to this person.
Everybody give me a perception check.
Oh, darn it.
Little known fact, being sprawled out on the floor makes you great at seeing things.
Apparently, the dice don't hate me in this game.
Not in
That's
this
a
game.
performance check.
Hey, Ren, why don't you
That was
shut
a
up?
performance
You
check.
It is a
almost killed
performance
us all.
check. Haha. So take off 2. That's a 14.
Okay.
No, Eclipse just starts dancing.
Yeah, I'm
Freddy.
just dancing. She's been drinking wine and eating cheese the whole time. She's not paying attention.
Freddie
Do I
and
ever do a con
Circe-
save?
No, not yet. Freddie and Circe, from where you're standing, you look over, and this drow is watching. And their eyebrow is raised really high, like, what in the hell is going on?
The regular rock type
Yeah,
eyebrow?
like the rock eyebrow, like, what?
Can we smell what he's cooking?
Can you smell
Okay,
what
sir.
he's cooking?
Seriously
Just
gives him one of those, like, what, you never seen someone sprawled out on the ground before? That's groundist.
groundist.
I don't
That's
know.
a very specific look.
But anyway, they would like for us to go over there and speak to them about this. So if you guys just want to come over there and
Words it'll need us to bail you out of an awkward situation.
no, that was just the one time.
This
If
is
I
totally
really wanted to
different.
bail, I could just, slip out the back. That'd be fine.
Freddy looks at Gjest a little bit incredulously. It's like, sure, I will speak to this individual. Let's go.
Yeah, great.
Teamwork.
She's gonna, as we go, she's gonna kind of wait and then go in behind of them.
I'm gonna hide back here now.
Yes.
Everybody coming over? Just Freddy?
No, I'm going as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, Circe will rumble
Sure, why
and get
not?
back to her feet and hobble over.
Okay.
Also, if Freddy notices just attempting to hide behind, is going to gently maneuver her back to the front. Be like,
Yeah, you'd see her trying to, like, shimmy her way to the back, like, acting like it's no big deal. Yeah, we're just gonna go right over here. And she's, like, trying to hide behind everybody.
nope, not gonna have any of that.
So he pushes you up towards the front, Gjest leading you back towards the representative once again.
Great.
Great.
Thanks, Greg.
Greg.
Circe looks at Calypso like, I don't think she knows their names.
It's Frederick, and you are welcome.
What was your first indication?
She shrugs.
So you approach the drow, still watching you. And as you get closer, they kind of look at you. These are your friends.
Yep.
These are the ones that are going to get my artifact and bring it back here.
Depends on what else you can tell us about this. I don't believe we've been introduced yet.
They reach out their hand, very informally, kind of looking away as they're extending their hand out. They say, Representative Kraybot.
Reach out and give him a very firm handshake. It's Frederick von Kolsky of the Flaming Fist.
How quaint. Yes, I need your assistance. You see, here in the city, things work in certain ways. Every year for this festival, each one of the wards offer something very generous, like a financial donation or perhaps instances of buildings dedicated to the city or new businesses created to support the people in their needs, or even new magic that is shared as common to all of the people. And every year, our house has been reluctant to offer much by way of this ordeal that they have here every year. But this year, we would like to change that. The individual stops for a second, looks around, clearing their throat, and says, I have been working with a archaeologist tour guide out of the trade ward named Shara. Shara has been searching for an old gnomish relic called Bynix's Eye within the city of Volendar. It's located on the island of Mistlethorne, just outside of the island of Clycair here. The unfortunate part is every group that Sheras has taken with them has had something bad happen when they enter into this long-forgotten city. I need this relic before the ceremony ends on the 2nd. And as you think, trying to remember the calendar, you have roughly 21 days until the 2nd. He kind of looks over the group and says, if you are willing to take up this job, then you need to speak with Sheras within the trade ward and find out how you are going to get there. I do not bother myself with the inconsequentials. I just want the artifact brought here, please.
Out of characters, you run by the info of what it was called and what island we're supposed to go to again? Sorry. Quick.
Do what? I'm sorry?
Like how... Yes, the places.
I wanted to know what the item was called in the island that it was on.
Okay.
Or
I gotcha.
Yeah, the island.
The artifact. And it is in the city of Vonaldar.
Guys, if we hurry, we might be able to catch the guy with the boat.
As you mention this, the drow kind of shrugs it off and says, there's no need for that. Travel to Vonaldar is only a 4-hour trip from here by airship. It's not that big of an ordeal.
Circe kind of like hides a little under her scarf and says, yeah, well, my dad has a magic boat.
So you said that previous expeditions have not turned out well to retrieve this?
The individual kind of shrugs.
And you're certain that this artifact, this eye, is located here.
They look over you and say, as far as I know, the artifact has never left the city.
What does Freddy know about the island? Is that the island that was ransacked by the fire giant?
No. Let's go here.
I'm going to make a history check to see what I know about this island.
Okay. The island and city that you're going to is located here.
I didn't see that.
The one closest to Clyde, like the one that's right, and then like the bay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Based on your history check, you know that the island itself has been abandoned for roughly 200 years. Originally, it was occupied by a group of gnomes that called it home for better part of probably about 600 or 700 years. After they had been wiped out by reasons you don't know, the island lay dormant for quite some time before the Flathammer tribe made their way there briefly. And when I say briefly, they lived there for maybe 5 or 10 years before quickly leaving and finding their new home in Sidore over here, which used to be the old capital for the people of the Gladomain. But since then, the island has been abandoned.
Does anyone know? Well, no one knows like why they abandoned it.
No.
Or they just that's interesting.
Nobody has asked either.
I feel like that should probably change before we make our way there.
Did anybody ask the important question too?
What's the important question?
Does this man intend to pay Gjest for her troubles?
You mean Gjest?
Gjest, sorry.
We don't really know her.
Don't really know
But
her.
she's trying to rope us into doing this. Is she getting paid for it?
Nobody asked.
That's yes, Calypso is pointing that out to everybody. Very, very much in character, other players. Hey, did she talk about getting paid at all before we start figuring out how to do this?
Well, we'll get the details first to see if we even want to do this in the first place. But,
Yeah.
if you guys are on board, then we can talk. We can talk more specifics.
I'm sure it's quite a bit of whatever it is.
Not to doubt your assumptions, but I really want you to make sure that he intends to pay you and that he doesn't expect you to do this out of the kindness of your heart.
They look at you and say,
And she smiles.
You're part of the festival negotiation committee, are you not?
As a matter of fact, yes.
Then you can do it for free. That is your job.
Oh, I think I need a cleric for my sick burn.
Really want to sass this guy, but I know he's more important.
And
than
again,
I am.
I keep making the mistake of saying he every now and then.
It's a very difficult thing to
It
get
is.
used to. It's
Yeah.
human nature to categorize things, so just roll with it.
Yeah.
She looks at them, really wants to be sassy, but probably can't because they're more important than she is. And what does doing this task have to do with the council's preparations?
And they look at you and say, because this relic is our offering to the city.
Well, how big is this relic?
They begin to describe this relic to you as probably about the size of like a bowling ball. Mostly it from the tales that they have heard of it, it's almost completely transparent, like you can see all the way through it. But then under certain light or in the sunlight or things of that nature, it begins to shimmer within it. Like if you're holding it under or out in the sun, it looks like there's a sun that's within it. If you're holding it into a room where there's candlelight, it looks like there's a flame within it. But again, it's only about the size of like a bowling ball.
Well, it's not gonna like do anything if we touch it, will it?
They look at you and shrug.
All right. Well, if we're doing this for the council's efforts, we'll need funding for passage and provisions to reach this island. I assume you at least have that much under control, yes?
Tereth raises their hand and says, of course, I've already paid for voyage. I've already paid for any food, water, any supplies that you might need. Plus, while you are there, you can always keep any of the loot that you find there as well.
That was going to be the reimbursement that I was withholding mentioning, but good to know.
I assume that would be more than enough, yes?
Completely acceptable. Does that fit for everybody else?
That's nods.
Seriously gives a nod, but she's having a bit of a coughing fit.
Sounds good to me.
Yes.
Okay. And
Freddy doesn't get a say. We drag him when we want.
he
Well,
goes
he's
anyway.
the anime protagonist of the harem anime,
Mhm.
so...
And that is your other quest. Or another quest.
And Gilly was the one who sent the letters to myself and Calypso,
Correct.
right? And she's standing right here, too.
She is.
Circe will nudge Calypso and kind of nod to Gilly.
You think we should have a word with her?
She'll kind of wave the letter that they got sent.
I gotta remember what this letter says. It's been a while.
Dearest fuckos.
Was it a handout?
Come do shit.
Pretty
Was
much.
it a handout, Forge, or
No, it
was it
was.
just
I just read it to
invitation?
you. Yeah, it was just an invitation to come here to be part of this committee, basically.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, she'll look over to the person they were speaking to. Name escapes me. But they'll give a respectful bow to them. My sister and I have other matters to attend to now, but rest assured we'll work with Gjest and our associates in recovering it. I'll tug Cersei along.
Okay. I'm guessing you're going over to speak to Gilly?
Yeah.
Okay.
And she'll give a respectful bow to Gilly when they arrive.
All right, and Gilly turns and kind of nods graciously to you, bowing a little bit, and says, "It is good to see that you guys have made it here. I was wondering if you were going to show. I know your family likes their privacy."
We do, yes. Father thought it would be good to attend this meeting on behalf of the Peridris family, and Cersei thought it would be a good idea to further show representation for the Church of Kaifon. Isn't that right, sister? And she'll nudge her lightly.
She nods.
Gilly nods and says, "Yes, indeed. Having a representative from the Church of Kaifon here is definitely a step in the positive direction for the temple. Having somebody from the Peridris family as well is also very important to us, considering how important they have been to our city and to the realm itself."
Yes. We were wondering, now that we're here, after the slight delay we had earlier, was there anything that you might need for us to do for the council in the preparations?
Oh, hold on. I gotta load Roll20 again. Gilly kind of looks at you and thinks for a second and says, "No, I think we're pretty good. I can't think of anything that I need specifically, or that the Gladomain need, but certainly the representatives here all have their own problems and issues that they would like to have addressed. Is there something that maybe we can help you with?"
Sister, was there anything that we might have needed? I don't think so.
She thinks for a moment and then shakes her head.
Gilly kind of looks over specifically you two, but noticing obviously that the others are there as well, and says, "Well, if at any time you need anything here, especially if you're taking on this job here for Representative Kraybot, if you need anything, just please let me know. I know that the task they have for you is going to be very demanding, so should you need anything additional, just come and find me. You can always find us here."
Thank you very much for the consideration. We will do so.
Okay. Anybody else here before we continue?
I mean, I was trying to do something a while ago while the other characters were talking to Meriel.
Okay.
Feels like it's a bit past time.
What were you doing then?
I was wanting to talk to Ren and Norel.
Okay. We'll actually have you kind of split off and head towards her, as I'm guessing Freddy is going to head over towards the dragon marked individual and speak to them. But before we do that, let's take a 5-minute break and then come back to it. Okay. 5-minute break. Don't go anywhere. And when we return, we'll continue, and they'll continue to gather quests and see what they're going to do. So don't go anywhere. All right, so we're coming back.
Roll.
More cheese, baby.
Yeah, and so with that too, you also have to remember you're not going to just go straight to the inn and find the right person right off the bat. Cassius gave you a list of 6 inns and wants you to find the best in each one of those inns to participate.
So what you're saying is we're going to get the best from each tavern and then we're going to have a rock-off.
Or they're each going to participate in the festival. The best of those 6 would participate, basically. And I'm going to send you guys a link to view.
Just to clarify, too, we only need 1 bard at all. Right?
You will gather 6, but you'll gather one. You'll gather 1 bard from each one of the inns.
Okay.
Time to reform the Halfling 5. Plus 1.
Plus one.
Plus their half-orc manager.
And don't forget, if we're doing that one, we need to go to the registry and Hall of Remembrance.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, because we need to have a good memory of what happened.
Mm-hmm. Because your characters don't know, but...
What?
Freddy doesn't know all of it. Hell, he wasn't even around for a majority of it.
That's true.
Even though he was here, he wasn't really around for it. He wasn't in the middle of the combat and things like that.
What? Don't you remember him in the Fire Giant's castle?
I'm sure I'm sure even then he's heard plenty of it besides. First-hand experience on some of it. And
So you guys are starting. I sent the link to you. You're starting on the 11th of Elite, which is row 53. You're starting there. The festival itself takes place from the 17th to the 30th. It has the wrong dates on here. Hold on. But yeah, 17th through the 30th. It's highlighted properly, but it's not dated properly in the little thing at the side. Then there is a 2-day gap. One for High Harvesttide, the Faerunian holiday, and the extra day on the calendar. And the first of Marpanoth, which is... both of those days aren't part of the celebration because those are the 2 days that Mabar would come into Coterminus by itself. Then on the 2nd is when Mabar and Irion are basically in competition. It's called the Sundering, where the 2 planes of existence are fighting for power basically in the realm. And then the next 7 days after that are all Irion and Coterminus, which basically just means it's the closest plane of existence. It is powering thing. It is very powerful. The presence around it is very radiant, is basically what Coterminus would mean. So, the updated calendar, if you wanted to take a look, like I said, you are on the 11th. So you have plenty of time. You have, 6 days currently before the very first day of the festival. So you have time to basically get started with, the Bard Quest, to be able to go around and gather bards and listen at the inns and go to the Hall of Remembrance and try to get everything that you would need. Or what you could do is you could go to... Well, no, I wouldn't say that. I'm reading Discord. You could ask, but even still, they're going to have very differing opinions on how things went. And they're not going to know everything that happened, like what originally caused the war between the two sides, because they didn't have all of that information.
Didn't Ryland kill the queen?
What's that?
Ryland-
Boat's calling. Bye.
Ryland did not kill the queen,
I know.
but Ryland is one of the reasons why the queen is dead.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I was just calling
I
you
got
that.
blamed for it.
You got blamed for it.
What
'Cause
didn't Ryland get blamed for?
Well, Kai apparently really had it out for me because I got blamed for a lot of shit.
Especially
All right.
that whole shard thing.
Yeah, it didn't make it any better, I'm sure. Okay, so yeah, as the conversation winds down with Representative Kraybot, you see Celeste kind of starts to wander a bit and makes her way up closer towards the podium or the platform where Meriel is sitting, but still trying to hide and like duck in between the crowd. Makes her way over to Renan Norel, the representative for basically the dock ward of the city, the Selavash ward. As you get over here, you notice on her attire, she's wearing very noble looking attire, but on her attire she has two different crests on her outfit, one for House Lorandar and one for House Orin. While she is not personally a dragon marked individual, she represents both houses here in the city because they handle every form of transportation going in and out of the city. So as you begin to approach, you notice there are a lot of individuals around her, a couple of which you do notice do have dragon marks, but they don't seem to be much more than almost like common individuals within that house. So
They're people with a skin blemish.
Yeah, pretty much. Like to you, it's a skin blemish because, well, no, you would know what the dragon marks are because you know Meriel has them.
I've also lived in Toledo all my life.
Correct. So, you know, they might not be powerful members of those families, but they're still members of those families.
Like, if you're still a lesser cousin, you're still a cousin.
Right. You still have the bloodline. That's all that matters. So, but as you begin to walk up, she stops and kind of takes a look over her shoulder and notices that you're approaching and says, "Don't I know you from somewhere?"
Hi, yes. I'm Celeste Gladomain.
Oh, yes. You're the daughter of Amriel, aren't you?
Yes, Amriel and Cedric Marsk.
And she kind of nods and says, "How is your mother doing? I haven't seen her and, God, it feels like ages."
She's doing well.
You're breaking up.
Yes. No, that was her
Okay.
stumbling over her words.
Okay.
Yes, she's doing fine.
She kind of nods and says, "That's good to hear. Your family has been very kind to all of us within the Selavash ward, so we're very happy that things are going well for her." She kind of looks and says, "Is there something I could help you with?"
What was our official name, like, council or whatever we're called?
You are the Festival Negotiation Committee.
Well, no, I'm part of the festival negotiation committee, so I was wondering if there's anything I could help you with. She's like absent-mindedly fiddling with one of her gloves.
She kind of looks at you and says, "Oh, well, that's quite the ordeal then. I imagine you guys have quite a bit on your plate already."
Trying to help out where we can.
She nods and says, "Well, we do have one issue that's a bit of a concern. The Warforged that House Lorendar has been hiring are talking about going on strike. And to be quite honest, it's very much a poor time for this to happen, especially with the festival just a few days away. I'm for certain that House Lorendar has paid very well for all of our dock workers, and we're not able to get through to them, and they are talking of beginning their strike in just 2 days if we don't come to an agreement with them. I'm not exactly sure how to approach it. Every time that we attempt to speak with them, we basically get shut out of conversations, and then things get worse." And she kind of stops and says, "I fear this is much more than just financial. All of our Warforged that work for us live very comfortable lives. So I'm really not sure what to think of all of it."
So you want us to negotiate on your behalf?
She kind of nods and says, "Negotiate, or maybe just ask around, investigate a bit. Try to see what's going on in their minds and why they are refusing or wishing to go on strike. Again, it can't be something as simple as financial. We've always taken care of them."
Celeste kind of nods a few times and says, yes, I'm sure we can handle this."
Good. That would be fantastic. If you need anything, you're welcome to stop by our representative house within the Selavash ward, and we can try to get you some additional details. But as of right now, that is all that I have. I will send word that they should be expecting you sometime in the near future, and to begin to gather any information that may be pertinent for your investigation in this.
Yes, thank you.
And she kind of nods and says, "And tell your mother I said hello."
I will. And she kind of just awkwardly shuffles off.
Okay. And this is your quest from her. Okay. Freddy, you were heading to Talador Demodini, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Again, as you see this individual, older, like I said, nearing 70s, bald head, kind of burly, almost a strongman kind of individual. Based... Actually, you wouldn't know, but Circe, Calypso, and Celeste, but Celeste isn't with you. The three of you would know that this individual is known pretty widely as basically like the man that kind of strong-armed his way as one of the top dragon-marked houses in Eberron. However, when he came here, he had no desire to do so. He's shown a completely different side here because every one of the dragon-marked houses were on like an even level. So when they came in here, they each went to what they were good at and immediately offered services and immediately found that they could comfortably live here. Because of this, Taldor has changed quite a bit. Before, he was very rough around the edges and very much willing to just go to war at any moment if he had to, just to benefit his house. And now he's basically all about securing the city and keeping people happy, and allowing them to participate in their lives, and he makes a shitload of money doing so. As you begin to approach Taldor, you notice the individuals around him, again, some of which are militia. They look very well trained, very well armed, and then a few commoners that they're speaking to. Again, some of them look a little worse for wear, almost like they're here because they're trying to make some coin, and perhaps become a sellsword or something of that nature that would allow them to provide for their families. As you begin to approach, Taldor comes to the end of his conversation with these individuals that are in front of him, and they begin to walk away, and he turns and looks over at Freddy, who's approaching, and just watches kind of silently, his hands kind of crossed behind his back as you approach.
Approach, nod, and say, "Well, I'm told you're the man I need to talk to for the services I require."
He looks at you. Very stern, serious look on his face, and says, "I'm the man a lot of people need to talk to for services they require. What services do you require, though?"
I'll reach out my hand and introduce myself. So I'm Frederick von Kowalski, and representing the Flaming Fist. And was told that I should talk to you about bolstering our ranks in order to fulfill our obligations for the festival coming up here.
As you introduce yourself, give me a perception check. As you mention that you're part of the Flaming Fist and you introduce yourself, he kind of pops out his chest a little bit and very proud kind of stance, and extends his hand out and says, "Taldor de Medini, I've heard of your organization. Unfortunate that your members are less than you would require for whatever it is you have going on these days. But yes, I am certain that we can offer you plenty of militia-ready individuals for whatever you have to offer. But first, as always, we need to discuss the cost."
Of course.
He looks at you and says, "How many men do you believe you will need?"
A lot of character, well, sort of. How does Freddy know the approximate size of the ranks of the Flaming Fist in Cluedo currently?
Low numbers, as in barely. Well, you're probably in the 30s.
And with what we're tasked with providing guards for the representatives, which is
correct, 22 members of the representatives, plus the Gladomain High Council, and anybody else that you feel you might want to protect.
Indeed, so barely have one per person as it is, so.
Mm-hmm. And you're pretty certain that one per person obviously isn't going to be enough.
Need at least to double, if not triple, the current size of the ranks.
Mm-hmm.
That's just kind of a lowball estimate.
Yep.
Well, I will relay this information to Talor. At least require at least 40 to 50 able bodies, if not more.
Okay. As you mention, probably 40 to 50, he stops and starts to do some of the math in his head. He's trying to figure out exactly how many he believes, and he nods and says, yeah, you're probably right. 50 should be good. And then he thinks and says, all right, 50 individuals. I would need 150 gold, please.
That shouldn't be an issue. Fortunately, I don't have that kind of gold currently on my person.
That's per day.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean,
don't worry, it's only 11 days long.
That was longer than that.
To the handy dandy calendar.
To the handy dandy calendar.
Yeah, just a tad longer. Yeah, it goes for
Total
13 days, I believe. Oh, and then there's a day off, and then it finishes.
So you're looking at a 10-day.
14.
So 14 plus the Sundering, which is the Day of Remembrance. So 15 total days. If you would like to cover High Harvest Tide and the day before the Sundering, that's 17 days at 150 gold. That's 2 gold per individual that you are hiring. That comes out to 2,550 gold.
How much does Freddy have an idea of how much the coffers of the Flaming Fist, basically how much money do they have? Do you even know they have on hand?
Probably nowhere near enough.
Right.
They as when you walked into the actual keep itself, and you began to look around, you noticed while everything wasn't like squalid kind of environment, it wasn't like they were feasting every single night. Like, they were living on pretty meager accommodations. So you imagine some of that is them kind of penny pinching at that point, trying to just save as much gold as they can. And especially right now, since there's not a lot of work to be done, by the Flaming Fist, it's going to be challenging to come up with that kind of money right now.
Well, Well, perhaps also there could be some arrangements made that maybe offset the cost, or there's to be done. I'm sure there's other things I can help you out with as well, or my companions as well.
And he kind of looks at you and kind of gives you the, yeah, possibly. And then as he's kind of looking over you and the others and thinking for a second, he's like, well, if you don't have the gold, then perhaps we can loan you the men and you can pay us afterwards. But if you're going to pay us, I would suggest that you do it as soon as the festival is over. So consider finding your methods to get this money back before the end of the festival. That way, when we're done, you don't have to worry about paying any interest on this. But if you extend it past the sundering, then we'll have to negotiate additional terms.
Of course.
But if you agree with this, then you shall head towards Sentinel North. It's where all of our troops are all of our men are currently gathered. And you can speak to Captain Eldril Mirafel. I can't believe I made such terrible names to try to remember. They will have information on how many men, when they will be ready, and you can begin to assign them as you see fit.
Indeed, sounds quite fair to me. I'm out of character to run that, but you said Sentinel North?
Sentinel North, yes.
This is the specific person you said to talk to, sorry.
I gave you the handout. Did you see the handout?
Nope, no, it is. I had my notes open over it.
No worries. All right, and as you reach this agreement, once again, Taldor extends his hand out, kind of reaching out to you, making this almost like a gentleman's agreement on what to do with the troops, after which he bids you a good day and turns back to the other members of the militia that are standing there with him.
I will return his firm handshake.
Okay. Anything else you guys would like to do?
Continue hiding from Meriel.
I'm like shooting fireworks around her at this point.
Okay. As you continue kind of roaming around the room, you do notice Meriel has begun to stir a little bit. She, after watching all of this take place and seeing Celeste kind of being chased by these sparks all over, Meriel stands up and walks down from the podium and begins to approach the party.
Oh no.
She takes a moment or two and begins to collect her thoughts. As she approaches, all the conversations kind of wind down. She walks up, kind of placing her hand on Freddy's shoulder. And as he stops and kind of turns around and takes a look, she says, "If you all have a moment, I'd like to speak with you."
Of course.
She kind of takes the opportunity to kind of step away and pull you guys over closer to where the table was, where the wine and the cheese and things were, as nobody was really over there at the moment. You notice she has kind of a somber and serious look on her face. As she brings you over there, she stops and turns around and looks at all of you and just kind of watches, seeing everybody is here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. As you kind of gather around, she kind of looks up and says, "I wanted to step away from the others because I feel this bears a private audience with you. A few days ago, I was approached by Archmage Althea of the followers of Ezator for a private council session. This isn't unheard of here. It happens quite often. The Archmage greeted me with news of their people, passing along some tidbits of information that they had gathered for us. You know, standard fare conversation and things of that nature. It wasn't until the Archmage was leaving." And she kind of pauses for a second and lowers her head a bit. Her brow kind of furrows up a bit as she does so. She says, "As he turned to walk away, I heard something that felt strange to me. Maybe it was just a weird inflection in their voice, or perhaps I was just hearing things, but they said, 'This time, things will be different.' I stopped and asked the Archmage to repeat what he said, and the Archmage turned and looked at me, as they always have, and said, 'This time, things will be different, my queen.' The inflection, the timing, the nuance of the phrase, they were all very different both times. The second one very comforting and reassuring, while the first was almost haunting. I don't know if this means anything, or if really any of it matters. I know I'm on edge of late because of the sundering on the horizon. Mabar's strength is growing, and with each passing day, I can feel its pull. I feel Arion's power here in our city beginning to diminish. The members of the Undying Council have told me that this year feels odd to them. The power to keep the Undying safe during this festival is going to be trying for them. I don't know what this means. I just know that what happened 25 years ago, I wish not to see happen again. Can you look into this for me? Talk to the Archmage, or I don't know. And she kind of stops and stumbling on her words a bit, which for her is very odd to witness. In all the instances that you have ever met or spoken with Meriel, she's spoken very clearly, very plainly, and knew exactly word for word what she was going to say to you. This seems to have gotten to her. And she kind of stops and looks away for a second and says, I don't know what to ask of you. I just... keep an eye out for me, please.
Of course, that's no problem.
Celeste is sort of giving like a slow nod.
She stops and after a few seconds kind of takes a deep breath and then looks around and says, okay, I pray you have gotten the information you needed then.
I believe so.
Good. Do you know where you will start?
Well, I guess it depends on how everyone else feels. What do you guys think would be the best?
Celeste will also explain what she learned while talking about the Warforged.
I was thinking we could start off with something easy, and the bard thing sounds pretty easy and simple.
She's right, it should be the easiest task to handle.
Meriel kind of watches and says, very well. If you have your path, then I will leave you to it. If you have any questions, feel free to stop by here anytime. I would be more than happy to offer my guidance to you. And with that, she kind of nods, kind of a very graceful bow, then steps away, heads back over towards the podium where she was sitting before. You notice this time as she's kind of sitting down, she has that almost nervous kind of look on her face, where she didn't before. So, the city is yours. Where are you going?
Well, the closest place would be the registry, so let's head there.
Okay.
We're gonna go to Cholt.
In that case.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
This campaign just turned into Tomb of Annihilation.
Okay. Get ready.
But at least this time we'll have a competent paladin.
With our gritty realism setting, I'm sure that's
no, this is a mistake. This was a bad
idea.
No, you got to keep the gritty realism and add meat grinder.
Oh no.
Hey guys, thanks for inviting me. I think I'm gonna find something to do with my every other Wednesday. You guys let me know how it works out.
All right, so you're gonna head to the Kalido Registry building, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like it.
750 feet to make your way over here. You make your way towards this kind of tall building. As you look at it, it's really kind of interesting. The bottom is like a single level, and then there are these two towers that rise off of it. And in the center of it is this weird, like, it's kind of hard to describe it, like almost like glass, but it's like a smoked glass in the center that goes between the two buildings all the way, are the two towers all the way to the top. So, like, nothing can pass between the two towers, but the towers aren't very big. Like, maybe, I don't know, like the size of like a small house. As you can kind of see here, they're about the same size as that. But there are two of them, and the towers extend way up in the air, like a good 20 or 30 stories up. It's one of the taller buildings here within the actual city limits of Kalido, or Upper Kalido. You walk up, and as you approach, there's this very large double doorway, probably about 20-foot tall doors or 15-foot doors. Easy to kind of push open, though, as you walk up and place your hand on them. They move with ease. As you open this door and enter into this very large and open chamber, you notice all around there are chairs and benches and couches. All of them are empty. In the center, as soon as you walk in, there's a podium, and on this podium is a small box. In the back of the room is a desk where a somewhat elderly lady sits at this desk very quietly. What would you like to do?
I'm going to go over and look in the box.
Okay. Inside the box, you kind of peek in and you notice these little, they look like 2-inch by 2-inch small wooden plaques with a number carved into it.
Do I know what these are, or?
It has a number carved into it. You assume it's probably like a ticket system. Take a number.
To be fair, this is a world of high magic.
How many ghouls are waiting for us to take a number?
There are no ghouls waiting.
Well, let's take a number.
Yep.
Okay. You reach into the box and you pull out the little plaque, and it says number 10 on it. And as you look at it, you hear, "Number 11, please. Calling number 11.
Circe holds up her finger like she was going to say something, but just slowly puts her hand down.
What number did we get?
10.
Oh dear.
A few moments pass and you hear, "Number 11, please." Obviously, the room is empty, other than yourselves.
She gestures at the box.
Please just go up to them and tell them we're 10 and there's no other people here.
What's the other number in the box? Is it 11, the next one?
I'm just gonna go up to the lady or the person.
As you approach, you look on the desk and see a little plaque on her desk that reads Hilda Gray. The desk is almost entirely empty, except for a blank sheet of parchment that she has on the table, an inkwell and a quill, and a bell. And as you approach, she looks up at you and says, "Can I help you?"
Yes. We are number 10.
Do you have a number?
We are number 10, but you called 11.
Please take a seat and wait your turn.
But we're 10 and you called 11.
Please take a seat and wait your turn.
So maybe you should try taking a number.
I'll go up and try and take a number.
You reach into the box and you pull out the plaque. This time it's flipped upside down. And as you pick it up and you look at it, it reads number 5.
Oh, fantastic.
I go and I take a number.
You reach
I'm
in
hoping to get 11.
and pull out a plaque, and it reads number 9.
Oh now, goddammit. I
Calypso's gonna walk over to Cersei. You don't happen to have anything that might help this number game, do you?
I snap my fingers and I press digitatus. One of these things, but it has number 11 on it.
As you do so, begin to walk forward, she says, "Number 12, please."
In the back, dying.
Okay.
Celeste just...
I almost like just throw the thing at her and just storm out.
All right, well, Calypso goes to take a seat because fuck bureaucracy.
Actually, I want to try something. I want to try to Fonzie it and just like give it like a percussive maintenance kick. See what happens.
Give it a Fonz. I love it.
What, the box?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just gonna crush the box.
It's like a podium. Like, you know in high school band, they would have the little instructor's podium where they would put the sheet music. That's basically what this is, with a box setting on top of it and a bunch of wooden numbers inside of it.
Yeah, punch the box.
Go ahead and punch it. It's fine.
Just get a little tap. It sounded like it was dispensing them somehow. And
Okay.
I was reaching and grab one.
You reach in and grab one, and you pull out number 11.
I'm gonna use Arcana to see if this box is magical in some fashion.
Okay.
The
Celeste
magical
sighs and
box
sits
of
down.
It is not magical in any way, shape, or form. It is a wooden
good.
box with wooden numbers inside of it.
All right, I was wondering if it was some sort of magical thing screwing us over, but
Nope.
no, it's just
a box. Go ahead and
it's
give me a
just-
perception check.
It's just the inferior nature of bureaucracy.
Both of you're noticing there's a randomness to it. Not only were the little number plaques that are inside of this, they're not just out of order, but they're flipped upside down, they're rotated weird, almost as if the box has been knocked over and somebody's probably just picked all of them up and just threw them back inside the box.
Grab 13.
Can I see inside the box at all?
Yep. And the next number is 13.
I'm gonna take number 13 and I'm gonna hold it up like I'm super excited.
Okay. Number 12, please.
Then I'm gonna take out my notebook and I'm gonna write everything is out of order. Fix this, and then I'm just gonna slap the note on the side of the box.
13, please. Number 13.
I desperately look at one of the people who actually talks and try
I
to hand
grab
this
it and
thing
move
up.
We're 13. I'll take the thing and go up with my sister.
Just toss the number 11 back in there.
Yeah, I tossed mine back in as well.
Okay.
You guys are just making it worse.
You're just adding to the confusion. Well
This
done.
is just adding to the problem.
You approach, and as you approach, she looks up at you and says, "Can I help you?"
Just gonna look to the others.
Yeah, we're number 13.
That's nice.
We're here
what
for-
can I do for
we're-
you?
What did we specifically need from the Hall of Records,
The
guys?
the inns.
The story of
No, that's the
Yeah,
Hall of
that's-
Remembrance.
yeah.
That was the Hall of Remembrance.
We're
so we
looking
need
for
records.
we needed the inns that the bards played at.
The locations of the inns.
Oh, okay. So we're looking for the locations.
Yeah.
Okay, we need the locations of several inns, 6 to be exact. If you could help provide us with that.
Are you part of the Adventurers Guild?
No, we're part of the insert name for what we call ourselves in the council.
Do you
It's the
have
Festival Negotiations Committee.
Thank
Do-
you.
Do you have your 1072 long form then?
I swear to God.
This is a moment from the DM.
Can I
Spent a
Can I
long time
insight check
doing
just to see if she's fucking with us?
Go ahead.
She's not.
She's not.
fucking
I
with
doubt
us.
it.
Can I persuasion check
You-
roll to like expedite this?
You insight check this, and nope, looks as is. You can give me a persuasion check if you want.
Okay, I want.
And what are you
I
trying
want
to do?
like skip the paperwork.
Okay. Yeah, you can try that.
I'll assist.
Okay. Persuasion
How's
check
good?
at advantage.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
Vivien stands up and then throws off her commoner's clothes, and she's wearing like a limbo shirt, and then she yells, "Someone requisition me a beat!"
I'll have you know, the DC for this check was 25.
So the
Exactly.
woman looks at it and goes,
25.
"You are technically correct.
You
The best
technically
kind of correct."
As you begin to try to persuade her, what do you say?
We don't really need that paperwork, do we? I mean, it just makes more work for you, more work for us, and nobody wants that.
I envision like the Jedi mind trick hand wave. You don't need to see our identification. She looks up at you. Says, request for information with the registry. You require a completed 1072 long form in triplicate submitted at the time of the request. What is the name of the locations? And she looks down, and this piece of paper that she has in front of her suddenly turns into this form that she needs you to fill out. She reaches forward, grabs the quill from the ink, dabbing it into the actual ink, and begins to writing down all of the names and the wards of which you were asking about. As she does so, she gets to the top and says, "And whose name is this requested under?"
Cassius Stormholm, he's the one that needs the information.
Very well. Hands it to you. I need you to make 3 copies of this, please, then return. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Does she tell me how I get these copied? Like, do I just hand make it myself, or is there a place I go?
There's not a FedEx Kinko's anywhere around, if that's what you're asking.
Hey, come on, man! You don't know. I mean, I guess you wouldn't know.
So I have
Did
to
she-
like hand.
Did she
make
provide us with
copies?
3 copies?
She does not. She hands you the one sheet of paper, the way that it needs to be filled out, and hands it
May
back
you
to you.
provide us with copies?
She will not provide you with copies.
It's the most inefficient bureaucracy I've ever seen.
How does anything get done in this place?
People come
Does
prepared.
someone have a forgery kit?
Jess kind of looks around. Perhaps.
Hey, you wouldn't happen to be able to do forms and documents, would you?
Perhaps.
Perhaps it's kind of important.
I could try.
You know we nearly got
That
thrown in
works.
jail because of you, right?
She said she was gonna help. Don't.
I did not ask you to interfere. You did that on your own.
Seriously reaches up and bonks Celeste on the head with her staff.
But I will try to make some copies of this paper.
You can try to roll the hit, Rez.
You're really gonna make me roll the hit on a comedy thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, too bad.
So, Jess, you going to try to create these
Yep.
documents?
Should probably step outside of it. We'll be back shortly. Just not inside the clear sight.
Well, we're not doing an illegal thing. She's just
Yeah,
You know-
you're just making duplicates
yeah.
of a form that she has handed you. as she had requested.
Okay, then.
Yeah, it's not like it's illegal.
Forgery kit would just be for the paper and copying and stuff.
Yep.
Because I don't think there's a calligraphy set.
There is.
Is there?
Mm-hmm.
But it's close enough.
It's fine. Yeah, this will work.
You're just forging something that just happens to be completely legal.
Forging.
Yeah.
I see what you did there.
I know.
All right, go ahead and give me the roll for it then.
I'll offer guidance.
Hey,
Yes!
2
Okay.
nat 20s in a row. Good job.
I'm going to spend the time shuffling these numbers so that they're in order.
You notice that the 10 is missing.
You know, my cousin's being a real dick today.
Mm-hmm.
She's not being
Almost
big.
like she wants to be beat.
You're also missing 1, 3, 4, 6, and 7.
I get immediately frustrated and I kick the thing over.
And now you know how they ended up on the floor and mixed up.
Somebody else was there.
So yeah, after spending about 5 or 10 minutes trying to make sure that these are perfect and you match everything up correctly, you are able to duplicate and then triplicate this document to give to her.
Okay, well, I think these are near perfect.
Circe looks over at it, and then she holds up a note that says you forgot to dot one of the I's.
No, she didn't.
Yeah, but does she know that?
Are you missing your glasses?
You could insight versus a deception.
Did I dot my own eye?
You spend 15 minutes
Go
looking
back,
at these
look at that.
documents, like, where the hell is it? She saw it. And you start to get flustered with it, and then you, over in the back, you start to hear Circe just kind of chuckling after about 10 minutes.
She's just standing next to her sister looking extremely proud of herself.
Also looks extremely proud.
Okay. Documents are perfect.
So I'll hand it, both of them back, or all 3 of them back to Vivien.
Okay. As you walk back to the desk, the woman looks up at you and says, "Do you have a number?"
Oh my god!
Please take a
Wait,
number and wait your turn.
I get a goddamn number and I pick the next number.
Yo, what number are we even at?
I wait for her to ask for a number and then I pick it.
At this time, she is at 3.
What? Then I pick 5.
Number
there
4.
is a 5.
Calling number 4. Last call, number 4.
I'm gonna take all these damn numbers. I'm just gonna take them all. I'm gonna force them to need to get more numbers.
Number 5.
I run up there.
As you hand the documents forward, she looks up at you and says, "Fine. It was almost my break time, but okay." She sets them down on the table, grabs for the bell, and
How inconvenient for you.
how inconvenient for her, and she rings the bell. About that time, directly behind her, the small door that resides directly behind her swings open, and you watch as a small, like, mechanical clockwork little machine walks up and grabs the piece of paper off the desk. As it does, it immediately turns, lifts the paper, rotates it back down, and then heads off to the door on the right-hand side of the room. Takes roughly 5 minutes before the clockwork returns. The entire time, Hilda sits in silence, doesn't even acknowledge you, just sits there, waiting. The clockwork returns with the list of addresses, as the party is asked, detailing the ward, which you already knew, the street, the hours of occupation, and who the inn is licensed to within the city. The clockwork hands the document over to Hilda. She takes a look at it, looks back at the party, looks back at the document, places it down, signs it, then hands it forward and says, "Thank you. Have a nice day."
I take it.
And
Thank
that's
you,
where
Hilda.
we'll end our session tonight.
Circe hands Vivien a note that says she doesn't want us to have a nice day.
I'm waiting for her to slam the metal closer down so she can go on lunch break.
She tries to enlist everybody to help her steal the number box.
We just could.
Just cuz. Just
No,
walk
because
out.
if they lose them, then they have to get a new one, and that'll have all of the numbers in it.
Yeah, I'm saying we just walk out with all of
we
them.
just take it. We just leave.
Yes. All right.
So, Forge, do we get a level up?
You do not.
We just leveled up.
You just
I
leveled up
know.
last session.
It's a joke.
No level
He
up.
wasn't late by an hour.
Yeah. We should have got 4 level ups on Sunday.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. I'm going to end stream and I'll be right back.